Where did your motivation come from? Is there like someone you look up to?
There was an individual I met in Seattle when I was finishing school that was a radio and TV guy from Fairbanks, Alaska. And he, in many ways, was a better mentor to me about what it takes to become a working adult and my own father. And we won't go into the specifics of that. But he showed me work ethic. He showed me skills. He showed me on-the-job tips and tricks to get through stuff and to understand better how it all works. Once you get your head out of theory and the books of production, ultimately you're faced with a real-life situation where the clock's ticking and it's costing somebody money. So he taught me how to work fast and to be efficient and to be gracious during the work period. That's a key factor, is being able to get along with your coworkers.
Thank you for sharing your experience and story. I'm Perry, and see you guys next time.
What lessons did you learn from that interview?
The most important lesson I've learned is to make connections with one another. So in the future, I'll have many support. For more, check out our YouTube channel, OWHstudio.tv.
So thank you again, Perry, for that lovely interview. Now we have a well-known guy named Daryl the Guru Johnson, and here it is.
Hello, my name is Roy Espinoza, and welcome to Envision the Future from OWH Studios. Today, we will be interviewing someone Bay Area sports fans love, Daryl the Guru Johnson. Welcome, Daryl.
Hey, welcome. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
So, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Well, I'm born and raised in Union City, California. I've been in California my whole life, and right now, my job is, it's a blessing. My job is to be able to get on the radio at 95.7 The Game every day, 10 to 12, and I do a daily talk show to share my information or my thoughts with all the fans of the sport teams in the Bay Area.
So, where did your love of sports start?
Actually, it was passed down from my father, my dad, Norman Johnson. He's actually a native of Dallas, Texas. So my first football game as a young kid, as we lived in California, to go back home and see his family, my aunts, uncles, my grandmother, grandfather. My first football game was a Dallas Cowboy football game. And just 7 years old, I can remember the stadium, the fans, the star on the helmet, and this was my dad's favorite team. So at that point, the energy from the crowd, it was something I couldn't forget. And from Little League on, after we got back to California, sports was my thing, you know. Baseball, football, basketball, soccer, whatever. I just took a liking and love to it.
So what would you say is like your overall favorite sport?
You know what? It's like, I know you're too young to have kids, but I got 3 kids, and it's like asking which kid is your favorite. I don't. I love, it's all seasonal, so whichever sport is in, I'm 100% vested. So I get that question a lot, and they're like, oh, you're going to have a favorite? I don't. I love them all the same, equal.
Okay. How did you get your job?
It's funny you say that. I'm not a spring chicken per se, so because I love sports, I had delivery jobs in my life, and I'd be driving around and I'd listen to guys like Gary Radnich, Pete Franklin, local, talk show host on the Bay Area. So it was different from just listening to the music, but also, the games are later on in the evening, and I would always, as a fan, look forward to the games, and I felt like the medium of sports radio and hearing guys talk about it, the Warriors, the Raiders, the Niners, the A's, Giants, it was like an appetizer to the game. So it would make the time go faster before the games were played. So I always kind of had a dream that maybe someday I could, host my own show and have people from the Bay Area call and get my thoughts. But I made the phone call not with that dream or thought process. I just made it because I had an opinion on what the guys were talking about. And if I disagreed with them, I disagreed with him, but I would always pull over at, the stops that I had at my delivery job, and I'd always make time no cell phones at that time, I'd always make time to call in the office. And I called Pete Franklin one time. He had a show in San Francisco, and the first call I had, he goes, "What do you think you are, some type of guru?" And then his whole bit was when he didn't agree with you, they'd have the sound of a toilet flushing. So he flushed me. And the funny thing about it was, I'm thinking it's just me and I'm calling because I love sports, but my parents, all my friends were like, "Hey, we heard you on the radio, you got flushed." So I say that to say is he gave me that name, the Guru, so, I was hard-headed. So when I called back, which I did the next day and every day of the week, I called myself the Guru. So that's how I got that name. And he's since passed on. But Pete Franklin, he always told us, he was originally from Cleveland, he was the inventor of sports talk radio. So I always keep that Guru with me now, Daryl the Guru Johnson, because he kind of gave that to me.
How did you prepare for your job?
Well, that's interesting. It's all about prep. And, you asked me, how did I start liking sports? A lot of people, average fans think it's just turning on the game, but, I would study the box score or see, if there was infighting going on within the team or possible trades. And, as a young boy, it was before the internet and social media, so there wasn't a lot of scrutiny outside of the local newspaper. But to answer your question, now with the internet and me getting older and social media hitting, getting on the scene, every little quote was under the microscope. So to answer your question, there's so many venues now, not the hard copy papers, everything's online. So I had all, ESPN, CBS Sports, all the New York Times, all the different newspapers, websites I could go to learn more information about my favorite team because there were different writers. Now there's a million writers for each team. So now I take pride, it being my job to talk about the local Bay Area teams. I'm gonna watch the games and know about it anyway, but now, this is why I say it's a blessing, it's my job to prep myself and kind of get notes like a reporter. I'm not a reporter, but I feel like one in regard to, I got an abundance of information and a wealth of knowledge that I can share and help me come up with these decisions and thoughts on different topics on what's going on in Bay Area sports.
So would you say the time you take to prepare for your job is like almost a 24/7 thing?
Yeah, no doubt, exactly. And it's funny, my kids will be, "Daddy, why do you always watch the game?" And I'll be like, son or daughter, Daddy's doing homework because now it's my job and I don't want to miss anything. And people depend on me, as I share my opinion on a daily basis, you need to know what's going on. So I was doing that anyway, but now I'm just locked in 100 times more because, again, it's my job and I want to make sure I know what's going on. So if, guys and gals call and ask my opinion, I want to make sure I'm well versed on the topic.
One question I have is, do you think the Warriors are going to get to the finals and win it?
Oh, there's no doubt. And this is wonderful and incredible because I can remember a time, I'm older than you again, obvious. I can remember where the Warriors, were going through a tough time, but the Bay Area fans always showed up. So the love was real. It wasn't about, you're not winning. We just love you and what you represent. So that was a big deal. And to answer your question, with Kevin Durant and now DeMarcus Boogie Cousins coming back, I believe Friday is his first game back. They're clicking on all cylinders. I expect, the Bay Area to have another parade come June right here in Lake Merritt.
I want to thank my guest, Daryl the Guru Johnson, for coming out and joining us. I'm Roy from OWH Studios, and good day. Okay, I want to thank all of you guys for tuning in. It's about the end of the show. So right now, speaking on behalf of Perry, Kala, and Alexa, I can say that it was much fun making these videos. Wouldn't you guys agree?
Oh yeah, of course. It's a fun experience. If you could do it, do it.
Yes, it was super fun and super cool.
It was a very interesting experience for me.
Okay, well, we want to thank you guys for tuning in. Special thanks to our mentors, William Hammond, Sam Van Zandt, and Brenda from OWH Studios for teaching us about media and getting us out of our comfort zones, because I know for a fact
if you would have told me earlier this week that I would have been doing this, I would have done it. But don't forget to follow the YouTube channel for more videos like this. I'm Roy, and see you next time.
Welcome to Overcomers with Hope Second Chance, a digital arts media training program for at-risk youth and the community. I'm Bishop Watkins, founder of Overcomers with Hope Second Chance. It's located in a Victorian in the heart of West Oakland and has 7,700 square feet of floor space. Let's take a tour. Now we're inside the studio. I want you to take a few moments to view some of the type of work that these students are able to produce. Our ages are 16 to 24 because that's the age where a lot of our youth are in trouble. Take a moment to see how these kids are able to produce and what they're able to produce. Take a tour of our studio. I'll be right back.
Accomplished award-winning actor Blair Underwood came to visit Oakland's Alameda County ILSP program.
It's more about being you than it is about be you. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
so that is an entity that we're has many different moving parts to it, many different legs, but it's all about giving back. It's all about helping people help themselves and self-empowerment.
Did you see that movie, How to Train Your Dragon 3D?
Today is about survival. If you get blasted, you're dead.
We're going to show you today how to make Chinese wonton dumplings, which is one of our favorite things to make to eat. It's delicious and it's easy and fast.
Hi, my name is Lorraine Taylor, founder of 1,000 Mothers to Prevent Violence. If you know someone who have lost a loved one to violence, or if you feel compassion for victim survivors, or if you can hope for a brighter future for our children, please join us on Students in Media.
I hope you've enjoyed this small tour of Overcomers with Hope Second Chance. Our studios are open to you to come and do the real tour of Overcomers with Hope Second Chance. We invite you to come in and be a part of our program. Volunteers are always needed. This Overcomers with Hope Second Chance program gives our kids a second chance to live a first-class life. Thank you, and God bless.
Hey, do you want to become a local TV celebrity? Do you want to learn video TV production? Well, check out this learning experience that Overcomers with Hope has to offer you for free. Overcomers with Hope Second Chance is located at 1485 H Street in Oakland. Overcomers with Hope Second Chance gives youth from age 16 to 24 years old the chance to live a first-class life through digital arts media training. Register now by giving Overcomers with Hope a second chance a call at 510-893-5103. Overcomers with Hope second chance could be your chance.
This is What's Up at the Movies, and I am your host, Dejanay Bates, and this is our special guest, Chelsea Ingram. Chelsea and I had a chance to review the new movie Saw. So Chelsea, how did you enjoy the movie?
Dejanay, I must say, I enjoyed the movie Saw. It was great, phenomenal, one of the best female action-packed movies I've viewed since
Welcome everyone to, of course, OWH Studios presents the Liberty Hall Open House. I'm very excited. Of course, I'm yours truly, Yolanda Rose, your radio, TV, and reality personality for YAL Radio. And I'm your host this evening for this wonderful grand opening indeed. OWH Studio is a non-profit, stands for Overcomers with Hope, offering educational training for at-risk youth, young adults, and returning veterans and injured first responders. The Liberty Hall Studios is designed for business, churches, pastors, video directors, and other producers who require professional video services and produce your own show. You guys, we got a wonderful presentation for this grand opening. You guys, we got top-notch equipment. We want you to come in and view our wonderful studio, you guys, a state-of-art production studio here in the beautiful city of Oakland, California. And you guys, what a wonderful presentation that we're going to bring to you, and what a wonderful, I'm very excited about this gentleman. He's going to come up and give a wonderful presentation, of course, of our Marcus Garvey. You guys, you know it's his birthday today, right? Now, I can't tell you how old he is because I totally forgot. But you know what? I'm very excited because we have a gentleman. He's going to give a historical presentation of Marcus Garvey building, and his name is Dr. OWH. And he's going to give a wonderful presentation. I'm excited about that, you guys. So I want you guys to sit back, relax, your own with, of course, OWH Studio, the city of Oakland, California, and it's the Liberty Hall Open House. I'm very excited indeed. You guys, I'm going to bring to this wonderful presentation at this hour. And we got a huge show for you guys. We have great inspiration. We got some entertainment. And we got vendors outside, you guys. We got the health insurance enrollment assistance here. We got the Veterans Community Media Network is here. We have the Black Nurses Association is here. We got a wonderful interview with a wonderful lady indeed. And we're going to bring her to the planet for our open house live broadcast. But ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce to you a wonderful presentation on Marcus Garvey himself. And we would have it no other way than Dr. OWH.
About 2 minutes space between each one.
And I'm very excited. We got this 4x12 green screen, as you can see behind me. Okay, which of course, the outlet that you see looks really nice indeed. We got the 2K and 4K HD cameras. I'm very excited to show you guys that. And we got the inset stage for personal interviews. I'm very excited to show you that also. And last but least, we got that digital recording services, and all rolled together brings to you a state-of-art production studio, you guys, here in the beautiful city of Oakland, California. It's the Liberty Hall Studio, you guys. But right now, I'm going to get right to it. Happy birthday to Marcus Garvey, and we have a wonderful gentleman that's going to bring this great presentation, you guys, and he goes by the name of Dr. OWH.
Thank you. This is the occasion of the birthday of the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. And he's one of the most important influences on my life, on my thinking, on my scholarship, and on my organizing. My topic for this afternoon is Marcus Garvey and the Black Power Movement, 1960 and 1920. We're going to do with two periods of the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. My name is OWH. I've been in the Black Liberation Movement now for 60 years, 57 as a scholar, 60 as a warrior, and as a spirit warrior, someone whose best ideas have come from the realm of the spirit. My baptism in the movement came in my awakening in 1963. And in 1963, I underwent an awakening that taught me that I had been miseducated, that the education that I had received in college, and that's a picture of me when I was leading the San Francisco Freedom Movement, the largest of the northern movements between 1960 and 1965 that opened up almost all the jobs for blacks in the state of California. But it was in 1963 that I came to understand that I didn't know myself, didn't know my enemy, and I knew that if I'm leading a movement of 10,000 people, that I'm sooner or later going to lose. But more important, it meant that I didn't know my enemy. If I didn't know my enemy, I didn't know myself. That's a picture of me after chairing a meeting of the Congress of Racial Equality. So it's around this time that I undergo an awakening and begin to think for myself that a very important publication came out called Black Moses. It was the first book during my generation on the Honorable Marcus Garvey. That's a picture of me coming out of jail in 1964. As Malcolm X said, you know, you might call somebody a criminal, but you're all in jail. You're all locked up, either on a mental plantation or a political or psychological one. So when this book, Black Moses, came out, it was the first exposure of my generation to Marcus Garvey, because Garvey had been eliminated from the history books. And it was a real awakening because this was the best leader produced by African people in the world at that time, and definitely in the Western Hemisphere, leading the largest movement for the freedom of Africa and the freedom of African minds worldwide. So why would he be excluded from the history books? For the same reason that a great thinker named Martin R. Delaney was excluded, one of the most brilliant thinkers we produced in the 19th century. For the same reason that Henry Highland Garnett, who was an advocate of black self-defense, was excluded. And for the same reason that a host of people that you would call black nationalists were excluded from the books of history, because if you understand people who are really dealing with power, then you will have an understanding of how to achieve power for yourself. And Garvey was a practitioner of black power before the term was used in the 60s. He had built a real base of black power. So as I underwent an awakening, as did many in the movement at that time, starting in 1963, I began to hit the books and began to study our history and our culture. But in the tradition of Africans throughout the world, we usually apprentice under masters. John Coltrane apprenticed under masters. Dizzy Gillespie did. Malcolm X did. His first master was Paul Robeson. His second was Elijah Muhammad. So Marcus Garvey became my first master. Not all masters are alive. Mine, it was an indirect apprenticeship. So I began to read everything that I could find on Garvey. And as I began to read, I discovered the writings of Amy Jack Garvey, who was Marcus Garvey's second wife. And I read a book that she wrote called Garvey and Garveyism. And as you see on the screen, there's a picture of a book written by Garvey called Philosophy and Opinions of Marcus Garvey. So I was a leader in CORE, and I would travel to New York periodically for executive committee meetings. And when I went to New York, I would go to Malcolm X's favorite bookstore, Michaud's bookstore. And I kept asking for a very important book that Garvey wrote called Philosophy and Opinions of Marcus Garvey. The book was out of print. Only 300 books had been originally printed while Garvey was in prison. His wife had aided in its publication. And so after a number of trips to New York, Michaud told me he had 2 volumes. It would cost $100. Now, even by today's terms, $100 is a lot of money for 2 books. But in 1964, $100, well, you could buy a Victorian for $25,000. And I was a broke full-time organizer. So I told him to hold it. I don't know how I got the money, but I got the money. And the most treasured book in all my collection, I have a library of over 10,000 books, is The Philosophy and Opinions of Marcus Garvey. Nobody's allowed to put their hands on it. I have it in my briefcase. I wouldn't even pass it around. You know what I mean? For Christians, it would be like an original Bible, because for me, it was a Bible. And this was the 2nd volume of Philosophy and Opinions of Marcus Garvey. This one was published by Marcus Bookstore, because Julian Richardson, who owned Marcus Bookstore along with Ray Richardson, became like my professor in the community. Marcus Bookstore became the university in the community. Julian Richardson trained a number of us. One was myself, Wade Nobles, and Dr. Asa Hilliard. So his daughter told me years later that he would say of me, he said, I digested books. He would say of Asa Hilliard, you've got a good memory. What are you going to use with that memory? Asa would use it to propagate African history all over the world with an endowed chair at Georgia State where he could do anything he wanted to. That was Asa Hilliard. And by the way, Asa helped get me tenured at San Francisco State when the FBI had filed a counterintelligence program on me. That's called COINTELPRO, where they tried to deny me work. And I have a former student of mine who reminded me that she was in a class that I taught in Berkeley when I was a release time teacher, because at that point I had been denied a teaching credential in Marin. And so my release time was a year to teach in Berkeley. So I got a chance to teach what were young black kids and white and other ethnic groups who were not being taught anything. And so I tried to put something in their heads. And so it's a coincidence that she would be sitting here, Longfellow Elementary School, 60 years old. I said, now, you know, God made this happen. Nothing on earth is by accident. So Marcus Bookstore became the university and the community for many of us, and Garvey became like a guiding force as I began to study my history and culture. And so with Garvey, there were a couple of things that were important. Number one, Garvey had a vision of African nationhood, that Africans should rule themselves. And at that time, we were in the middle of a black freedom movement, and in that black freedom movement, we had some vague ideas of freedom, but we weren't clear about exactly what it meant. This is a book that I wrote much later, The Art of Leadership, Volume 1, and it's 2 volumes, over 900 pages, took me 10 years to write, and you can see Marcus Garvey is up on the top with other great leaders. So you can see the impact of Garvey in terms of my development, but in terms of the development of many in the black freedom movement. So with Garvey, one of the things that was important was the teaching around the fact that Africans needed to rule themselves. Now, in a society like this, where we're only 10%, That's a hard thing to conceive of, but there have always been Africans in this country that understood that we make up a nation here. A nation are people with a common culture, and we should rule ourselves. So Garveyism gave me a sense of a long-term objective. And when you're in a long struggle, and I've been in it now 60 years, our people have been in it for hundreds of years, you have to have a sense of the long-term nature of it. This battle for liberation is like a relay race. It's not a 50-yard dash. So we're passing the baton off from generation to generation. So we have to lay a foundation for them. So Garvey played that role. One of the most important things that I learned from Garvey was the importance of self-reliance, that African people have to finance their own enterprises. I've been leading a movement, a mass movement, where we fought for jobs. This is a picture of myself, Dick Gregory, a beautiful brother named Nathaniel Burbridge, a man who had 2 PhDs, one in pharmacology and one in medicine, next to Dick Gregory, and was in line for a Nobel Prize. One of only 4 militant heads of the NAACP in the 60s, and gave up that Nobel Prize for fighting for black people. So in the course of the struggle, we had learned about boycotts. We had learned about marches. We learned about demonstrations, but we didn't know how to build institutions. And it was from Garvey that I learned the system of institution building. And then my mother was a good business person. My brother's a good business person. And I have the genes as well. I believe that to be broke is a joke. And this system is designed to keep black people broke. And so many people who are black nationalists think that poverty is a proof of dedication. You know, it's just a proof that you're having trouble eating. And as the African proverb says, poverty is misery. And we're fighting to end poverty. So it's from Garvey that I learned some fundamentals of economic development. I already had the genes. And I was working full time for no pay, but I knew I wasn't going to be working for no full pay forever. And I've had this rule in the Black Freedom Movement: I would never take money for any movement I've led. And I've led a lot of movements, I've lost no battles, and I've taken no money. And I put a lot of money in other people's pockets. So Garvey gave us that sense of self-reliance. In 1966, after we had rolled over the power structure in San Francisco, I went to the redevelopment agency, because you see I've learned some economic development, and I said I'm going to buy a 4-square block area in the Fillmore, and I have a lot of money. We got to understand something. We had kicked the behinds the entire economic power structure. I could pretty well walk in and get anything I wanted. And they said, how much money you got? I said, I got $1. And I got a 4-square block area in the Fillmore for $1 that's probably now worth $3 billion. It was then worth hundreds of millions. $1. I told them, I want this money because we're going to build the Martin Luther King Marcus Garvey housing complex. And then I went to Washington in 1966 and lobbied for low and moderate income housing. We got it passed. I came back and worked with a guy named Jim Montgomery, who's a black engineer who's still alive. And we built this complex that you see right there, King Garvey. It's over 144 units at that time, 1,400 square feet, $170 a month. And because I don't profit from any movement that I lead, and I didn't have a place to stay. I mean, I did. I had a girlfriend. I stayed with my father. I was a full-time organizer, broke. But that wasn't for me. That was for the people. So it was from Garvey that we learned these things, and this became really the basis for us really developing. In the beginning, Garvey was a vision for me of a long-term objective. I thought I would end up in Africa. I thought our people would probably want to go because we were forced here. Why wouldn't we want to go back? This is hell right here. Why wouldn't we? But over time, I went to Africa. I came to understand that we're a nation here, they're a nation there. Our job here is to support them and their struggle for freedom. Theirs is to support ours, and our job is to Africanize this reality. So what I neglected to say is I'm not only a warrior and a scholar, I'm a revolutionary warrior and a scholar. My writings are systems to replace this system. CIA still ain't figured it out, and if they had, they don't believe it anyway. They don't believe they're going to fall. Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall, and Humpty Dumpty did fall. And when Humpty Dumpty fell, they couldn't put him back together again. America is in decline. It's falling. And when you have a president of the United States like the one you have now, it's a clear indication of decline. Because when nations go in decline, they go mad first. They got madness in the White House. You hear what I'm saying? So the thing is, this movement through Garvey and this apprenticeship played a very important role for us. In 1966, after being in the Congress of Racial Equality for 5 years, in 1965, I led a delegation to the National Core Convention in Durham. And I chaired a resolutions committee to restructure CORE because we wanted it to be more grassroots. CORE, Congress of Racial Equality, one of the three big threes. King's Group, Southern Christian Leadership Conference. Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, Congress of Racial Equality. So in chairing that resolutions committee, I got 32 resolutions put before the convention and 32 passed. It was 33, but the 33rd couldn't get through because I wanted to vote whites out of CORE. Wanted them to go in their community and organize. We couldn't do that for a year because that would take longer to change the Constitution. But the biggest change we made, and this is Garvey, we got white money voted out of CORE. Meaning the white foundations, the white corporations, the white Zionists, all of those forces that manipulate and control you, we got it out. And I was elected treasurer of CORE when CORE was broke. The whole point was to get us to be self-reliant. Go to black people and let black people fund you. The following year, we formed a group called the Afro-American Institute that is now called Pan-African Peoples Organization. And at that point, I got major businesses, Wesley Johnson, who had 2 major nightclubs, a guy named Bunny Simon that had a nightclub called The Playpen, Carlton Goodlett, who ran the Sun Reporter newspaper and was a medical doctor and had a PhD in psychology. The NAACP, black social clubs, male and female, and they financed our organization. Only time I've taken money for 1 year to prove that the black community would finance its own movement and its own businesses and organizations. Again, it was the ghost of Garvey. Remember, Garvey said, when they put him out of the country, he said, I'm coming back in the whirlwind, I'm coming back in the thunder and lightning. You understand? So this is the spirit of Garvey. I give Garvey credit for this. So in 1971, I sent Marcus Garvey's wife, Amy Jack Garvey, a copy of our 5-year plan, Pan-African Peoples Organization, which, by the way, we run an independent black school now that's been in operation since 1972, African Children's Advanced Learning Center that's not far from here. 90% of our children go to college, 50% get scholarship, and they get taught consciousness. So we sent Amy Jock a letter telling her we were continuing the work of Marcus Garvey to the best of our ability, and she sent this letter. It says, Brother Shaka and others of the Afro-American Institute, Malcolm X Unity House, and it's dated October 23rd, 1971, 12 Mona Road, Kingston, Jamaica. By the way, it was my honor to address 1 million Africans in Jamaica in 2014 on Marcus Garvey Day, sponsored by IRI Radio, which is the national radio station of Jamaica. That was the biggest honor in my life. I spoke at the Million Man March. This was a bigger honor than speaking at the Million Man March. You know what I mean? Because it's Garvey. I put more time into that speech than I put in any speech in my life, because it's kind of like you're speaking for your father. This was my intellectual father, political father. Kick the power structures behind father. You know what I'm talking about? Huh? So this is her letter. Dear brothers, greetings. Thank you very much for the Black Man Speaks. We sent her a magazine that we started publishing called Black Man Speaks. It was named after a magazine that Marcus Garvey published. And thank you for your precious letter telling me of the great work you are all undertaking in the interest of our oppressed race toward full freedom and independence for Africa's children at home and abroad. I am thrilled that the message of Garveyism has taken on such wide dimensions in America at this time, that the black minority sees its salvation only with the members of the black race all over the world. That unity and the spiritual power that is inherent in black people will generate and activate our methods of attaining freedom that we seek. Now, brothers and sisters, you must harness the youth into active service, the kind of service that will restore family life, that will take the delinquents off the streets and alleys, that will respect womanhood, and that will lead women to stop cheapening themselves and put a value on their bodies and demand respect and love and devotion of their men. Women are the incentives that white men have gone into the jungles to get riches in order to give their women the best in life. And I would add, to oppress them. Too much romanticism about how good white men are to white women. Like hell, most of them don't like them. They certainly haven't treated them right. But that's my comment, that's not hers. Now, the white race is declining. Alert our people to this fact so that they will stop imitating them. They are going down because of their exploitation and suppression of the darker peoples of the world, but we are rising and we must be clean in body and mind. She has more to say, but that's the essence. Amy Jock Garvey was like key in the Garvey movement. She organized the office for Garvey. When Garvey was in prison, she ran the organization. And she saw to it that Philosophy and Opinions was published. And so learning from her was very important in our own development. So Garvey played a very important part in shaping the philosophy of the movement. Now, we didn't wake up because of Garvey, but Garvey gave us some good instruction in terms of where we needed to move. Malcolm X's mother and father were both Garveyites. Elijah Muhammad had been a corporal in the Garvey movement and never denied it. And by the way, they gave him the same title as Marcus Garvey, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Kwame Ture, as he underwent an awakening, as many of us did, Garveyism played a very important role in his awakening, along with socialism, because he saw the need to break away from this capitalist system. So if we look at Garvey, Garvey had a profound effect on Africans in this country. Kwame Nkrumah said, of all the works that he had read, Philosophy and Opinions inspired him more than any work. If you look at some of our best intellectuals, Garvey serves as a foundation. John Henry Clark, who I studied under for many years, Garvey was central in his own development. So if we are to understand anything about Garvey's legacy, he made a very important contribution to the awakening that occurred to black people in the 60s. So what was this movement that inspired us? What was the basis of this movement? There are an important number of books on Garvey called Marcus Garvey and the Universal Negro Improvement Association papers. And a man named Robert Hill edited these. These volumes are not written by any single writer. It's information on the Garvey movement all over the world. I read 6 of these volumes. That's over 6,000 pages, but there are many more. 8 or 9 volumes have been completed so far. And so these are files that come from the intelligence agencies of the French, the British, the Americans. This is information coming from all over the world. It's showing the massive impact of Garvey. Hill had a thesis, and I give people credit. If they have insight, and I think they're good, I give them credit. And he had 2 very important insights. He said, the Garvey movement represented the joining of 2 traditions. One was the social tradition coming out of Jamaica that was based on the idea of political independence. The second was the idea of race consciousness that came from Africans in the United States who were striving for justice and freedom. He said it was these two traditions that merged that gave birth to the Garvey movement. What did he mean by that? Garvey was himself a descendant of Maroons, but directly he was descendant of African people in Jamaica who were very proud and who, for the most part, were peasants or farmers. In the case of his father, a skilled person. And in the case of Garvey, he would become a skilled printer. But the base of the people of Jamaica was among everyday black people who were the field blacks during slavery. They built up an economy based on self-reliance. Garvey was trained in this because his uncle, his maternal uncle, trained him in a 25-acre plot that he ran. And in that 25-acre plot, they had what they call ground provisions. Those ground provisions is all you need to survive. And so he grew cane. He grew every crop that you could think of. And Garvey, as a young man, took books for him. And he also sold bananas and got a commission, which is telling you he had a little business instinct. And then Garvey, from there, went and became a skilled printer and supported a strike for which he lost his job. Then he traveled in South America and observed the oppression of African people on these plantations owned by multinational corporations in the United States. And then he went to Britain. He studied under a man named Deuce Muhammad, who was an Egyptian. And he went into the British Library and read. And while he was a child, his father had a huge library, read almost every book. Garvey was a reader, and you cannot be a leader, an imaginative leader, a creative leader, unless you're a reader. And Garvey was a reader. And a lot of people said he didn't go to college. He went to the College of Hard Knocks. But the main thing is he went to the College of Learning from his people, but he underwent an education that was a self-education, which all good education is. So Garvey, looking at what he read in the UK, the United Kingdom, I noted one of the things he read was a book by a man named Edward Wilmot Blyden. Blyden is one of the two most brilliant minds produced by blacks in the diaspora in the 19th century, him and Martin R. Delaney. Most people have not read his most important book. Most have read Christianity, Islam, and the Negro. But his best work was a book called African Life and Customs, no more than 120 pages long. Why was it his best work? Because he lived among the grassroots in Africa, and what he did was appreciate the culture of everyday Africans, and he offered a way that if Africa had followed it, Africa would be the strongest power in the world today. The way of following your own culture rather than the culture of your oppressor. So he studied him. Now, how much did he get from that study? I'm going to have some comments at the end of these remarks. But the point is, Garvey went into the imperial empire and observed it, and it was part of his education. He then tried to build a movement in Jamaica. That movement did not get off the ground. Garvey said it was because the Jamaicans lacked race consciousness. Well, how could the Jamaicans have race consciousness? Because they weren't hanging from the trees like we were in the United States. You get race consciousness where you have racism in your face every day. I would say probably he wasn't able to organize them for a lot of other reasons, but race consciousness wasn't the reason, because that would not, if that was the basis for independence, then Jamaica would still be not independent, and there are Jamaicans now who say they aren't because they're under IMF control and other kinds of control, International Monetary Fund. So when Garvey cannot build a movement in Jamaica, he comes to the United States to see Booker T. Washington. Booker T. is by then the most prominent black leader in the world, and he is coming to understand Tuskegee, the educational system that Booker T. had set up so he could replicate it in Jamaica. Booker T. dies before Garvey gets there. Garvey had no plan to organize a movement here. In fact, when Garvey came, he did not have the mentality suited for building a movement. He supported King George's war, World War I. He worshiped King George. He wrote a letter talking about how he loved them. You know what I mean? Was nowhere in the world he was going to resonate with black people with that kind of message. You know what I mean? So Garvey traveled throughout the South. That's where blacks were concentrated. And he made some very important observations later. But as he tries to organize, in his first attempt, and you know, this is no criticism of Garvey, this is what happens with anybody. His first speech in Harlem, he fell off the stage. Sometimes when he was speaking in Harlem, he was so hungry he was almost dizzy because he didn't have no money, you know what I mean? This was a guy who was concerned about his people. He is now at a point where he has not been able to connect with black people in this country. He's deciding to leave until he goes to a meeting called by one of the best intellectuals that blacks had at that time, a man named Hubert Harrison. Hubert Harrison would have a greater impact on Garvey than any single person. Without Hubert Harrison, Garvey's newspaper, Negro World, would have not become what it became. Harrison is the one that edited it. Harrison is the one that saw that he had a book review section. No white newspaper in the US had a book review section. And he cut down Garvey's section because Garvey would have 5 pages on his speeches, cut it down. So it became one of the 3 best newspapers blacks have produced in this country. Hubert Harrison gave Garvey the idea of a flag. Garvey came up with the red, black, and green, but it came from Hubert Harrison. But the most important thing that Garvey got from Hubert Harrison was an understanding of what made black people in this country tick. Because coming out of Jamaica, he came out of the consciousness of a rural person who has skills in agriculture and a sense of economic development and a sense that someday you could rule yourself. Because he would bring in the idea of organizing, that your organization is a government, because the UNIA, Universal Negro Improvement Association, was organized like a government in exile. They issued passports. He was a president, and you know, he had a president of America, president generally around the world. So it's when he attends a meeting of the Liberty League held by Hubert Harrison, over 1,000 black people. And most scholars don't know this. When they look at Garvey, they don't know this was the turning point for Garvey. And what does he observe? He observes post-World War I blacks who had been brought to Europe to fight to make the world safe for democracy, who come back facing bloody summers, meaning whites are shooting them. Whites are getting violent, blacks are being lynched, and blacks are fighting back. And he sees a self-defense spirit and an anti-war spirit, and this is called the spirit of the new Negro, which means the awakening of the black person. King would describe this same process in Montgomery. He said that the power that blacks got in the Montgomery bus boycott led to a new Negro, people who were thinking for themselves, who had a sense of empowerment. So at the second meeting, Hubert Harrison let Garvey speak. And Garvey was then schooled by Harrison and by the blacks at that meeting about the central core tenet of African American culture, which the one in the Caribbean doesn't have to have because they don't have whites in their face all the time, and that's race consciousness. Garvey understands there's a militant anti-war self-defense spirit, and there's a spirit of race consciousness. And when he connects with that and gives up on King George's war and becomes anti-war, and I want to really stress this because people don't give our people enough credit. Before Garvey woke up black people, they woke him up. Get this straight. And this is true for most of our leaders. Leading is following. And it's usually everyday people that wake your behind up. I was leading a movement. It was people following me that woke me up. You understand? Everyday black folks. I was in the second year of law school. They had no college. They were better educated than me. You understand? So Garvey understands race consciousness, and then because he's an outsider, meaning he's coming from the outside, he can see things that the average person inside doesn't see. I'm married to a lady from Barbados, born in Britain, raised in Barbados, went to high school in New York, spent 21 years, then I found her in London, spent 21 more years. She sees things about us that I don't see, because she's an insider and an outsider. Garvey was very smart, and this is Garvey's observation of the African American. He said, "The American Negroes are the best organized and the most conscious of all Negroes in the world." Notice he said, best organized and most conscious of all the Negroes in the world. Now he goes to why. "They have become so because of their peculiar position. They live in close contact with organized racial prejudice, and this very prejudice forces them into a rare consciousness they would not have had otherwise." So it is this spirit of Garvey that is tied to this understanding of the psychology of the African American, which is based on race consciousness, that enables him to tap into the black masses and build a black movement. And the masses of blacks who are Garvey come from the most oppressed sector of the United States, the southern United States, where the Klan will lynch you if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. So you would think, how could blacks stand up for what was the most militant mass movement of that period in the most oppressive place? Because that's the nature of how it works. The people who are most oppressed are the ones who will usually rise up. And it was race-conscious Southern blacks. In Louisiana alone, 75 chapters of the Universal Negro Improvement Association. So Garvey's movement is launched on the spirit of race consciousness, and it is as long as Garvey is adhering to radical principles that Garvey gets support from the masses of black people. There were other things that enabled Garvey to build a mass movement, commonalities that the African in the US has with the African in the Caribbean, South America, and Africa, one of which is spirit. African and African American culture is a spirit-based culture. Spirit is the first thing. You will always hear, I'll be in the laundromat, sister be saying, "Honey, you know the Spirit told me that." The reason why I was teaching in this class, Longfellow, is because when I went to fight to get this credential back, the Spirit said no, and I always fight, and I would have won on this one. And I turned around and went back, and then 3 years later, I'm teaching at San Francisco State. Ain't that funny? I didn't know why the Spirit was telling me that, you know what I mean? So we're a spirit-based culture. So if you look at Garvey, Garvey never saw himself as a religious leader, but the people called him the Black Moses. His family called him the Messiah, Marcus Mosiah Garvey. You understand? When it came to economics, the FBI, at that time, the Internal Bureau of Investigation, observed this is really strange. Black people treat money and a movement around money like it's spiritual. They called it spiritualizing business. That's how black people saw it, because God's everywhere. You know what I'm talking about? And so that gave us power, because we believe God's within us. So Garvey drew from this movement that had commonalities, and those commonalities enabled us to join together. Final thing I want to say about the Garvey movement, and this is critical, but it's not so much critical just of Garvey, but it's true of us in general. The strength of the Garvey movement was that it rested on the strong points of African and African American culture, particularly the culture shaped by Africans in the US and in the Western Hemisphere. And those principles drove us. So this idea of spirit being everywhere. No movement, no slave revolt got off the ground unless you believed God was in it. The Denmark-Vesey Rebellion, the Nat Turner Rebellion. Nat Turner had dreams. He saw blood on the leaves. He believed God told him to take up arms. Martin Luther King, when he's ready to lead the movement, he's sitting in his living room, or actually in his kitchen, afraid to go on. He didn't want to be the leader anyway. And then he said, God spoke to him, and he said, "Martin, stand up." You understand? So this idea of spirit was a strength of the Garvey movement, and to the extent that a movement draws on a culture of its own, it will usually be drawn on values contrary to those who oppress you. And so this was the great strength of the Garvey movement, race consciousness without racism. Except the only racism we find with black people sometimes is not liking each other. You know what I'm talking about? That's the hatred we need to get over, the brainwashing, you know. But we are forever forgiving people that don't want to be forgiven. You know, that's how good we are. This guy runs into this church in South Carolina, murders all these people. He did not want to be forgiven, but we're forgiving him before he even opens his mouth. You know what I mean? But the point is, this spirituality is a strength of our people. And then in our culture, and the Garvey movement rested on this as well, we have this idea, no masculine without feminine, no male without female. The Garvey movement at the local level operated on a Khan democracy. I don't think Garvey knew that's where it came from, but at the local level, you had a sister who was president, you had a brother who was president. A sister who was vice president, a brother who was vice president. So that strength enabled men and women to have an equal say-so at the local level. It would have been good if that principle had applied at the national level, because some of Garvey's strongest leaders and followers were sisters, and more of them should have been empowered. So to the extent that Garvey was strong, he drew from the strongest aspects of New African and then African culture. Ethiopianism, the idea that princes shall come out of Egypt, Ethiopia shall stretch forth his hand under God. Garvey never referred to Pan-Africanism or the unity of African people everywhere, but he practiced it. And it was Ethiopianism that was the basis for that practice. And it was Ethiopianism that gives birth to Rastafarianism in Jamaica. Am I telling the truth? You know what I mean? Bob Marley. And of course, the belief in the mighty hemp. This has got nothing to do with that. Of course, now it's good for your health. So, you know, you get away with getting you some hemp, you know. I know people that want hemp, whether they're sick or not. I'm kidding. So the thing is, with Garvey, while Garvey's strength derived from drawing from the best parts of our culture, because of the damage of slavery, even Garvey and too many of our leaders and people, but too many of our leaders have bought into this idea that the standard that we should judge ourselves by is white. Too many have bought that. And a lot of this has come from a white version of Christianity that has said that anything that Africans or people of color have created is savage. The only thing that is really civilized is bowing down to a white man with a cross. And we know African people have their own version of Christianity. It's very different from that. But the fact is, this version that treats your culture as nothing has infected a lot of our people. And in the case of Garvey, this was a weakness of the Garvey movement. Because while Garvey was opposed to imperialism, at the same time, he measured the movement by the standard of the imperialists. And as a result, put down certain aspects of the popular culture of Jamaica. The Jamaicans have what they called obia worship. These are diviners who heal people. It's a part of African spirituality. We had that on every plantation in the United States. Garvey looked down on that. He thought that that made us weak. In the case of African American culture, jazz, the blues, and the spirituals, Garvey thought we didn't know any better. We could have done better had we followed European classical music. Now, frankly, every music reflects the soul of a people. If you really want to know a people, know their music. And you know anything about European classical music, it's a regimented music. It's okay for Europeans, I ain't knocking it, but it's regimented. And everything is determined by the master artist. And everybody's supposed to imitate the master artist. The African American is into creativity. Nobody's telling you how to create your stuff, because at core, we're democratic. The aristocrats in our people are everyday black people. You understand? Queens, Aretha, you know what I mean? Dukes, Wellington, Ellington. You know what I'm talking about? Not Wellington. You know what I'm talking about? And so the thing is, Garvey, because of the brainwashing, even though he had undergone a lot of de-brainwashing, that brainwashing was a weakening of the movement. And I say that not to put Garvey down. That's the effect of slavery and colonialism. But too many Africans today take the same mentality. And so they do not believe in the culture of everyday grassroots black people. They do not believe that they can trust in the will of everyday black people. On the eve of independence, Jamaicans were self-reliant in food. Now they are busted. Why? Because brainwashed leaders allowed the IMF to impose standards on them where they were producing their own milk, and to get money from the IMF, they allowed powdered milk to come into Jamaica, free of Jamaicans having any tariffs on their milk. So the Jamaican economy has been ruined because the international forces wanted to ruin it, but because the leadership didn't believe in their own people. And I don't think Garvey would have fallen for that. So in conclusion, I want to say that Garvey was the spirit behind Black Power. Garvey did come back in the whirlwinds, and it led to the 5th Pan-African Congress, which plotted the independence of Africa successfully. And Garvey's ghost is still alive and will rise. Thank you.
All right. Doctor, before you leave, because I know you have to get going, first and foremost, I'm Yolanda Anastasia Littles. I am the cousin of Malcolm X. I'm Yolanda Anastasia
You gotta
Littles.
be kidding.
That's my father's first cousin.
Wow.
And my twin brother had the R.C. Richard Littles before he became Malcolm.
Mhm.
But I have a question for you. I want to say kudos for your information, your education, and your inspiration. My question for you, where do you see the historical education going from here? Because there's a lot of kids need to know that, of course, that history of course, my cousin Malcolm X, of course, Marcus Garvey. So, and kudos to you for following your spirit and not your flesh to keep going to present your presentation you have presented today. I want to say kudos and salute to you.
Thank you.
So what do you see it a few years from now?
Our youth are in a very difficult situation. And the difficult situation is caused by what hit African communities globally since 1968. In this country, in the form of globalization that took jobs out of the country and broke up black families. Black families maintained two-parent households, 75% of them, from 1865 to 1968. Now it's 34%. The intelligence agencies decided to hit black communities with drugs and kill off a lot of black leadership. I've had 3 assassination attempts on me, and it's not by accident that I'm standing here. So our youth have been faced with a series of things that have weakened the networks that passed on culture, family, church, and school. And as a result, now for the first time in our people's history, we have black youth who are looking more to black youth than their own elders. Because for the first time in our history, there's an erosion of respect for elders. A people who do not value the people with the most wisdom among themselves is in deep trouble. But the youth did not put themselves in this position. I said some of my best insights come from the spirit realm. I had a class that I taught at State in the 90s. I had a young student who asked a question, and I thought I had an answer, and I didn't. And that student said, if our culture is so great, why is it unraveling so fast? I had a visit, a spiritual visit. I have these things where the Spirit talks to me, and the Spirit said, a choice between 2 cultures. What's hit our youth is they're in a position of choosing between a European, American culture and our culture. It's a hard choice to make when you're not even sure you have a culture. You understand? So that our youth will be strengthened when we have more pride and understanding of ourselves and our culture. The same issue I was raising with Garvey affects us now. We need to value this pond. It's a poor frog that don't praise its own pond. This new African black pond that I call Muddy Waters. Muddy Waters is one of the greatest blues singers ever. But I'm referring to the pond that he came out of, which is this blues pond, which is this rhythm and blues pond, which is this jazz pond, and which is this great African cultural pond that is the culture of this country and of the world. So our youth need to have a better understanding of that, and we need to have a better understanding and appreciation of it.
Well, I thank you so much for your informational, educational, inspirational. You have been a joy indeed, and salute.
My, a little. I couldn't believe that.
Yes, everyone. Thank you so much, you guys. This is the opening, indeed, for, of course, the Liberty Hall, presented by OWH TV Studio. And I'm Yolanda Littles, radio and TV personality. I am your host. Hey, you guys, up next, I have a wonderful interview with the queen herself. You guys, I'm very excited because Miss Mildred Career, indeed. She, of course, is the founder of the Black Nurses Association, you guys. And I have a lot of questions because I'm excited to know, hey, how did this association get started? Yes. So you guys sit back, relax, and we got a wonderful interview with the queen herself, you guys. And this is, of course, Mildred Career. Stay tuned. Okay, let's walk to the other side. You guys, I'm excited for you guys to check out our studio. We have a fine state-of-art production studio, a 4x12 green screen. We have a new tech TriCaster. We have a 2K and 4K HD cameras. We have an inset stage for personal interviews. We have, of course, a video editing, Adobe Premiere, and we have digital recording services all rolled together, brings to you a state-of-art production studio, you guys. Liberty Hall Studios, you guys. And I want you guys to, hey, tell a friend, tell a neighbor. You guys pass it forward, take some classes. And you guys, OWH Studios, wow, have the wonderful classes. We will teach you how to edit. We teach you how to do production. We teach you how to run the studio. You guys, of course, is the Liberty Hall Studios and OWH TV Studios, you guys. And right now, I'm very excited to have an interview with Miss Mildred herself. You guys, Mildred Career. And she is the Bay Area's Black Nurses Association. And I'm very excited because I want her to tell us a little about how the Black nurses got started and what they are doing for our community. And I'm Yolanda Littles reporting. Welcome, Miss Mildred. How you doing?
Fine. Thank you very much.
Oh my goodness, I'm very excited. First and foremost, I've been excited to meet you. I know Miss Glenda McCone. She was one of our broadcasters at Moore Public Radio. And wow, I'm very excited indeed to meet you. Okay, I waited a long time. I'm excited to ask you, so what made you guys get started, how you get founded, and what are you guys doing for the community today?
Okay, it was founded by two African-American nurses, Flo Stroud and Carlisa Hussein. And it was started about 44 years ago in San Francisco. And their vision was to be able to go out and help the African-American community who was underserved health-wise. And so they started working with, there was an African-American medical group that had a building in San Francisco. And so the Black nurses, we started doing blood pressure and health education.
For nothing?
For nothing, for free. And also one of the other goals is to recruit African Americans into the field of nursing. And so we were very able to start a scholarship program for African Americans. Currently, we are still providing scholarships. We're very fortunate. Some of our members who have passed away have left funds for scholarship. We have currently, some of the work we do is we do health screenings in the community. We do about 50 events a year.
All for nothing.
For nothing.
What a blessing.
Right, and we're very fortunate. For example, yesterday, I went to St. Quentin with the Alameda County Public Health Department, and we provide health screenings to the men there. And we were able to see approximately 300 men with doing health screenings. We do cholesterol and glucose testing. We're able to do vision, hearing, and they're just so welcoming. And we're able to do that in the community too. We work with different church groups, different community groups. They contact us and ask if we could come and provide those services. And we work with like Allen Temple, Acts Full Gospel, a number of other churches, organizations like the Alzheimer's Association. Different groups will contact us and ask us to come and participate.
My question is this. What made you wake up one night or one morning and say, look,
this is what I want to do. And who supported you doing that? I'm quite sure your other half, kudos to him. Wow, what made you say, okay, I'm going to take this further?
I believe that in my family has always been very supportive of community groups. They originally came from Mississippi and went during the war, went to Vallejo. My family relatives started what they called the Mississippi Club because there were so many people. So I feel I have that gene inside of me to be able to continue to work with groups and to give back to the community. And as I said, we're very fortunate in the Black nurses that we've had people to start scholarship funds, that we're able to support them that way. We also work with the various schools of nursing in the Bay Area, and some of them, like Selma Merritt University, they have a diversity program where they will also have scholarships and recruit minority nurses, whether it's male or female, into their program. So we work in conjunctions with a lot of the different facilities. I mentioned Selma Merritt. We have people at Kaiser. Kaiser has been very supportive of what we're doing also. So we've been very fortunate to be able to carry that legacy on that was started by Flo Stroud and Carlisa Hussein.
Wow, that's a blessing. Where do you see, of course, your foundation, let's say 5 years from now?
Oh, well, one of the things that, we're partners with Overcomers with Hope. And so within the next few years, we hope to be able to have a center here to train nurses and so they can practice their skills as far as they
That's
go
what's
into
up.
training. So that's what we hope to do.
I like that. I have a saying, teamwork make dreams work. Without the team, there's no dream. Right. And I'm Yolanda Lotus, founder reporting. On this note, I am very pleased indeed. We serve the community here, OWH Studios, Liberty Hall Studios, and YAL Radio. Hey, we have a food ministry, and, it feels greater than billions to give back. When you get out of thyself, honey, you in good hands with Allstate. And you are in good hands with Allstate. You are a beautiful spirit, and you can tell you're doing it from your heart. Okay? You're doing it from your heart. You can feel your spirit indeed. One more question before we move on to the next program is with your beautiful smile. My question for you, what is the feedback from the community when they receive their services from you guys?
Everybody is always so pleased and so grateful. And some people, because I say we do this, we do it annually at different places, some people keep coming back and saying, thank you, I was able to, follow up, went to my doctor, did this. So they're so grateful. They kind of follow us at different times.
Oh, see, that's wonderful.
Yes, it is.
Because some people cannot afford going to, of course, I mean, it's very expensive, very expensive.
And so one of the things we do, too, is try to hook them up with health care, provide the information where they can go and get health care, depending on their income or whether or not, and have somebody to help mentor them and facilitate and be that contact. And sometimes we even go with people to apply for health.
Oh, see, that's a blessing.
Yes.
I have one last question. See, I'm like, you can tell I'm Malcolm X's cousin. I just keep going and going. I'm not moving my hips on Soul Train no more. I'm moving my lips. But I have another question. I mean, seriously, my concern is about, of course, the pharmaceuticals. Okay, the medicine is very high. So how do you help them receive their medication?
Well, sometimes what we try to do is to identify different pharmacies that may be able to work with them and give them a discount. And there are other organizations that we sometimes have a list of that we can then refer people to help them get that connection. Because we can't do it alone, but we are able to partner with different groups to make some of that happen.
Okay, but just in case they don't even have $5, they don't even have $1. So how can you coordinate to help them receive that, of course? I mean, it should be like a funding. Well, this is my job I would love to do for you guys, okay? Come up with a treasury, raise money to put money to the side for whoever cannot afford that $1, that $5, that $2, because we got the money in the kettle.
Right, and so the thing that I'm, at this point while we're talking, that I'm not sure of, there may be pharmaceutical groups that will do that. For example, there is an African American medical groups, and in the Bay Area, Sinclair Miller Medical Group, for example. I'm not sure. There may be a pharmacy group that work together, and that's something.
If not, let's build one.
That we're going to follow through and work on that.
Yes,
So
yes.
One of the things that we are working with is an African American. Well, at one time we had an African American community group, and different health providers would all meet together, and we would plan so we wouldn't duplicate services. So with Dr. Mike Lenore, we're beginning to look at doing that again.
That's a blessing.
Yes.
You know, when you walk in faith and not by sight, everything fall in place, it'll be all right. If it's not met, it'll be a block. Okay, but other than that, you're in good hands with Allstate. It's a pleasure indeed to have this interview with you. And all I can say is kudos, salute, and wow, one last word. So where do you see this going from here?
Well, I just see us continuing to, expand, because I still get calls every day for us to come and work with people. So I can continue to see us growing and having connections with different funders, et cetera. So we can continue to expand. We can continue to recruit more young people into the health field so they can replace us. And they can carry on that legacy.
Exactly. Well, that's well said. Well said. Thank you so much for being my wonderful guest, and you have definitely enlightened me for me to continue serving my community. Okay. God bless.
You too.
Yes, everybody, this is, of course, the Liberty Hall Open House, and I'm very excited, you guys. That was the beautiful, beautiful Mildred Creer, you guys, the Bay Area's Black Nurses Association, and she gave us a wonderful dose of great inspiration that, of course, the Black Nurses Association, what they present in the community. You guys, thank you for everyone who came out for our open house, and I see my brother Will on the side of me right here, so he finna give his little dose. The Liberty Hall Open House, indeed, you guys. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your support. OWH Studios, Professional Services, and of course, our volunteers.
I'm towering over you like that. Look at
You
that.
look like a dinosaur.
Switch mine. Put your hand. Oh,
You look
yeah,
like a
see,
dinosaur.
We can dance. Can we dance?
I ain't on Soul Train no more.
You ain't on Soul Train no more.
No, I'm moving my lip.
Yeah. Give me that. Yeah. Is it on? Yeah. We're here. Get that other mic up, sir. That black mic. Yes, indeed. I'm over here. Hands, you can almost see through me a little bit in this green screen, but we're getting ready for the next part of our show, Yasmeena. She's in the house. Did you know that? Come over here with me. Don't worry about that. God made it like that. You going to get mad at him? So we want to thank everybody who's come in. You know, we've got a couple of new shows we're working on.
Of course.
You going to take my mic?
I'm supposed to do that. The Yolanda Little's Bay Area Dance Show, you guys. I'm excited about it, you guys. The Liberty Hall Studios, OWH TV Studios. Thank you to our wonderful staff. Oh, my goodness. Thank you to my big brother, Bishop J.E. Watkins, you guys. And thank you for giving me a chance, YAL Radio, to be right upstairs, you guys. Catering to the unseen, the unheard, and the unknown. I cater to independent indie artists globally, and I'm very excited indeed to be part of history at the Liberty Hall Studios, you guys. Everybody up next, we have Bishop J.E. Watkins.
He's coming in, and he is the founder. Let me get down in this camera a little bit. Yeah, Bishop, how you doing?
They both big
Come on in here, Bishop. Pastor, you take over. I'm going to let you handle Bishop. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. I'm so glad you were here. You came today, and that you're viewing our streaming. And, you know, I tell people all the time, you have to do something to make a mark in your neighborhood. I'm Bishop Watkins. I'm the founder of OWH Studios. Those lady said something to me yesterday. She says, you know, you've been at this a long time. And she says, most people by now would have given up.
That's right.
I said, well, it's not a giving up thing in my family. We don't give up on things. And especially when it comes to helping our neighborhood and helping our people and just people, period. And that's what OWH Studios is about. It's about teaching our people. When I say our people, I mean the human race people. It's also for blacks, Mexicans, you name it, whites, anybody who wants to learn about television production. And the thing about it was we put you to work. one of our producers and The Voice was here today, and he came in, and he was really enthused about the young men who came in and took over from him while he was sitting there. And he came outside on the way out because he has to catch a flight to Hollywood because he's one of the directors of The Voice. And Hugh Grew, he does all the major television shows. He does the BET Awards. He does the Academy Awards. He does all their major award shows. And they have a new show that's coming out, he was telling me about. But we're going to start producing shows out of here. We're going to start producing our shows out of here. One is her dance show, Yolanda Little's her dance show. Yolanda also has YAL Radio. I call it YAL Radio, but it's YAL Radio. It's a streaming radio station that goes 24/7, and it plays music, our kind of music. It plays good music. And you know, the veterans are here because that's what we cater to also. Returning veterans who have PTSD, and veterans commit suicide at the rate of 12 a day across the nation. And that is one of the things that we've started working with them out of Travis Air Force Base. So you see there's a lot that goes on here in OWH Studios. Now Liberty Hall Studios is what we're celebrating today. Liberty Hall Studios is a new one. It's going to be open to the general public. It's going to, with some training, it's going to be open to the general public to be able to come in and say, listen, I have a show I want to do. I want to be on television. I have something, I want to do a video. I want to do a web something. This is where you can come and do it. We have what you're seeing here, and we just got our machine back. We have a TriCaster, which was donated by the WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment. These things cost 25 grand, so that was donated. It just came in last night, and our technicians worked very hard all evening last night, way over into the night, to get all this equipment up and running so that you could see exactly what we do. We can put you in any type of background. I don't care what it is. You say, I want to stand on the Golden Gate Bridge in the middle of while the cars are passing by, we can do that. We can put you in any kind of setting. We have millions of settings we can put you into and backgrounds, and this is what a green screen is like. This is what Hollywood uses to make all their movies nowadays. They use a green screen or a blue screen. Either one is, we use a green screen because you can tweak it a little bit better than a blue screen. But we want you to know that the services are here. And OWH Studios, and make a donation. Yes. Make a donation to OWH Studios because it's able to do a lot of things, and it can train your young people. One of our young people just went to work and he called me night before last, and he told me, he says, Bishop, you told me that if I went to work and just volunteered some time, I would find a good job. Wow. Somebody, he says, I'll be blessed. He came in for the last 3 months, designed a program, and he got a job working in the video department at UC Berkeley. Wow. He's at UC Berkeley. And he says, listen, I'm going to send the interns to your studio because this studio here, there's nothing like this studio, nothing like it. It was built by television professionals, ABC technicians, CBS technicians, NBC technicians, and one of my young men is right here in the Bay Area. Both of these young men is working for Cron. He makes a good amount of money at 22 years old. His daddy came to me a few months ago and said, listen, he's spending everything he gets. He says he's making so much money. A 22-year-old making above, he's making above $35 an hour. Okay, and he's only 22. So he's buying everything. His dad's buying cars and television sets and everything. But I told him, I said, let him go. We'll calm him. He'll calm down after a while. But this is what this television industry pays. And now we teach television standards. We teach industry standards. So you don't have to go to a major college. If you can't make a major college, you can come to OWH Studios. When you finish our 18-month program here, let me tell you something, we can find you a job in the industry. We also have, and I love this, we were donated a 53-foot van. We didn't have any place to put it. No place to put it. It's a television van. It's the same television van that you look up when you see the football games and the basketball games. It's that big television van that's all that full of equipment.
That's my dream.
We were donated to that. We were donated that. And we didn't have any place to put it. We couldn't put it in the backyard. Nobody else. We searched around. So we sent it up to Grass Valley. And we put it up there. The Grass Valley Corporation, Thompson Corporation, said, listen, why don't you park it here? So we're outfitting it. And up there, we have over $4 million worth of television equipment broadcast equipment has been donated as of yesterday. Wow. So that's going to be for veterans and first responders. So we're doing a whole different thing. So we're collaborating with that part. We had to come up with another foundation, another OWH basically, but it's actually the Community Veterans Television. And they're up in Grass Valley. And we're right now looking for places for them to stay so they can come up there and be up there all day. But they can't train. Veterans are very difficult to train. The ones with the PTSD, you can't move them more than 4 hours a day. But that's okay. We've got the people up there, the psychiatrists, psychologists, and we have a lot of assistants up there. But this television trailer is worth a lot of money. And we just didn't have a place to put it down here and park it down here.
It's nice. I saw it.
Isn't it nice? It's beautiful.
It's
fully
equipped. It
equipped.
looked like a spaceship.
It does, doesn't it? And the inside, it's got air conditioning and it's got generators and everything inside this thing. And it's a company that makes them on the East Coast. And Bob, one of our board members, he's the vice president of acquisitions, and he's the one that kept calling around because what we wanted was just a small television van, local TV van that we could just send around the neighborhood, around the community. But when it all came down, we thought we had this thing licked, and this big 53-foot trailer arrived in Los Angeles, and it is something else. We'll be showing you some pictures and putting some pictures up on our website of it. So go to, on our website, if you want to make a donation, make a donation. Go to our website, www.owhstudiostv at I think it's owhstudiostv.com, and there is a donate button on there, so all you have to do is just make a donation. Make a donation. Support something other than it's nice to support all the things that go along, all the good things, but this is a better thing here. This is what controls media, controls the world.
And then also, guess what? If you can go to other stations, other studios, it's gonna cost you a fortune.
Want it though?
But I ain't the one to gossip. But if you come here, it's gonna be less than the cost of the cost, because all we care about is presenting you with great classes, you guys, and a great opportunity. We don't care too much about the millions of the dollars. We're grateful for just your dollar.
Yes.
And I'm Yolanda Littles reporting. So on this note, and I want to say kudos to you also, Bishop. You have gave me truly an opportunity to shine with my internet radio station, Northern California's winner for Best Online Radio TV Show and nominated for Best Internet Radio Station. And I'm honored because if it wasn't for you being patient as a farmer with me,
amen,
I got a chance to be able to flap my wings, and thank you for being the roof over our head to be able to present the unseen, the unheard, and the unknown. And thank you so much for presenting our food ministry, OWH Studios, you guys, the Liberty Hall Studios, and YAL Radio presents our Food Compassionate program. And hey, everybody's one step from being homeless and 1 second for being hungry. So don't let your pride get you. You could get over here and volunteer your services. Okay?
We could use the help.
Yeah, we can use the help. We're about to start it up because I'm about to change my days up, so stay tuned. On this note, you guys, this is Bishop J.E. Walken Watkins. He is the founder, CEO, general manager, of course, of OWH Studios, and I'm honored to be here. I feel like I'm anointed in the Liberty Hall. I feel like I feel like I can just take off my shoes and I can just fly, Bishop.
You know, it's a good thing. And when you're working with, and this is a good place to work out of, a good place to work out of, and it's a good thing.
That was a good idea. Let me take them off. Oh my goodness, it is indeed. It's to me, it's an anointing house.
Yeah.
When I go upstairs, sometimes I feel like it's a spirit in the house. I said, because Marcus Garvey, I said, well, look at all this historical landmark here. I'm in
It's a
good
good
hands with
place.
Allstate.
It's a good
I
place.
feel safe.
You know, here, the neighborhood, and I have to say this, it has become gentrified.
Really?
And you know what? It's back to where it was in the beginning. This is how it began. This is how the neighborhood began. It didn't begin.
Enlighten us, Bishop, enlighten us.
Well, the neighborhood wasn't, it was a place, there was no such thing as Piedmont, Montclair. That was all animals up there. In the old days, that was all animals up there. You had Mills College, was almost as far as you could go. But Oakland, this was the seat of Oakland here, this area. This building at one time was a butcher shop. This was built, Marcus Garvey had this part added on. He had his annex added to it. And then all the men who came along, Father Divine, all the others, all the people who occupied, a lot of ministries occupied this building. So it's always been a building that has served the community. And that's what we do. We continue to serve the community. And we're going to be bringing in new students. September starts a whole new program.
That's good.
And new students will be coming in. So I'll tell everybody this. Get in while the list is short.
I'm a student too, you guys, because I'm learning the TriCaster. Oh my God. I want to thank the OWH, of course, the Liberty Hall staff, the volunteers, and Bishop J.E. Watkins, the CEO, General Manager. If it wasn't for him, you guys, we wouldn't have nothing to stand today to have hope for. And that's that. Wouldn't have a hope for. And I just want to say kudos to him. And also I want to say kudos to our cameraman, Dennis. Hello. And of course, hello, Jerry. I wanted you to say something. Kudos to you. You on your phone. You on your phone. You guys, it's been a pleasure. Remember, you guys, the Liberty Hall Studios introduction. You guys, it is a Liberty Hall Studios, OWH Studios. It's a professional services. The Liberty Hall is a general public service, okay? So the difference is the Liberty Hall is definitely for the general public. The OWH Studios is a professional services, okay? So let's let that marinate, you guys. Pass it forward to let everybody know, the kids you may know, some veterans you may know, whoever wants to join our, of course, our program here, you guys. And don't forget, give your donations, www.owhtvstudios.com, you guys. And also we're streaming right now. So you can also go look at the rebroadcast that we're going to present to you from this show. Now I want to call up Yasmeena. Where's the beautiful Yasmeena? You guys,
They're going to run one piece first.
Okay. Okay, see, there I go. Let me coordinate. We're going to run one piece first before we bring up our shining blue and radiant star, you guys, Yasmeena. So stay tuned.
Welcome to Overcomers with Hope Second Chance, a digital arts media training program for at-risk youth and the community. I'm Bishop Watkins, founder of Overcomers with Hope Second Chance. It's located in a Victorian in the heart of West Oakland and has 7,700 square feet of floor space. Let's take a tour. Now we're inside the studio. I want you to take a few moments to view some of the type of work that these students are able to produce. Our ages are 16 to 24 because that's the age where a lot of our youth are in trouble. Take a moment to see how these kids are able to produce and what they're able to produce. Take a tour of our studio. I'll be right back.
Accomplished award-winning actor Blair Underwood came to visit Oakland's Alameda County ILSP program.
It's more about being you than it is about be you. You understand what I'm saying? So that is an entity that we're has many different moving parts to it, many different legs, but it's all about giving back. It's all about helping people help themselves and self-empowerment.
Hey, did you see that movie, How to Train Your Dragon 3D?
Today is about survival. If you get blasted, you're dead.
We're going to show you today how to make Chinese wonton dumplings, which is one of our favorite things to make to eat. It's delicious and it's easy and fast.
Hi, my name is Lorraine Taylor, founder of 1,000 Mothers to Prevent Violence. If you or if you know someone who have lost a loved one to violence, or if you feel compassion for victim survivors, or if you can hope for a brighter future for our children, please join us on
Students in Media.
I hope you've enjoyed this small tour of Overcomers with Hope Second Chance. Our studios are open to you to come and do the real tour of Overcomers with Hope Second Chance. We invite you to come in and be a part of our program. Volunteers are always needed. This Overcomers with Hope Second Chance program gives our kids a second chance to live a first-class life. Thank you, and God bless.
Hey, do you want to become a local TV celebrity? Do you want to learn video TV production? Well, check out this learning experience that Overcomers with Hope has to offer you for free. Overcomers with Hope Second Chance is located at 1485 H Street in Oakland. Overcomers with Hope Second Chance gives youth from age 16 to 24 years old the chance to live a first-class life through digital arts media training. Register now by giving Overcomers with Hope Second Chance a call at 510-893-5103. Overcomers with Hope Second Chance could be your chance.
Wow, was that hot? Yes, great information, education, and inspiration. OWH TV Studios, you guys. OWH Studios here at the Liberty Hall Studios, you guys. Honey, it's really hot up in here. You see I have my fan, right? Honey, it's so hot. It's like my ex-boss Don Canese used to say, it's about to be a cold stone jam, baby. I have my shining, blooming, radiant star that's about to close the program, you guys. And she's a beautiful angel. She go by the name Yasmeena, you guys. And I want you to sit back, relax, in your own wit. Of course, the Liberty Hall Open House. Ladies and gentlemen, Yasmeena.
Thank you so much, Yolanda, for that amazing introduction. I really appreciate that. Hi, everybody. My name is Yasmeena. I am an Oakland native. I'm from the Bay Area. A couple of things about myself that I would like to introduce that I feel is really important. I am a graduate of Oakland School for the Arts, so I do like to identify myself as a part of the Oakland youth. And I'm really grateful for places like these. It's very beautiful to see that other kids are getting an opportunity to have a second chance. So this really opens my heart, and it makes me want to come out here more often. And I'm just so honored to be a part of this entire event. So thank you so much to everybody who put this together. It was an amazing event. Yeah, and I'll say a couple of more things later. We have a whole interview coming later. So please enjoy our performance. And some people live just for the fame. Yeah. Some people live for the power. Yeah, yeah. And some people live just to play the game. Some people think that the physical thing defines what's within. I've been there before, and that life's a bore, so full of the superficial. Some people want it all, but I don't want nothing at all. If it ain't you, baby, if I ain't got you, baby. Some people want diamond rings, some just want everything, but everything means nothing if I ain't got you. Some people search for a fountain that promises forever young. Oh, some people need 3 dozen roses, and that's the only way to prove your love. Hand me the world on a silver platter, and what good would it be with no one to share, or no one who truly cares for me? Some people want it all, but I don't want nothing at all. If it ain't you, baby, if I got you, baby. Some people want everything, some just want
The beautiful Yasmeena herself, you guys.
Thank you. So this next one is probably one of my favorites right now. I am starting to get into R&B a little bit more. I was really into the pop world, but I'm starting to listen to a little bit more of Jasmine Sullivan. So this next song is called "I'm in Love with Another Man," and it's very interesting. The storyline, the plot of the entire song. It just explains how a woman can feel, how she's allowed to feel. A woman is allowed to feel and do as she please, as the same as men. You know what I mean? So this message in this song is very influential for me because it inspires me, because women can do whatever they want at their own leisure, you know, at the most polite way. someone else. And I'm so sorry, baby. Yeah, I'm in love with another man, and I know it right. No, 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 no. You should go and find someone else who will treat you right, give you the world, someone who understands the man you are. 'Cause baby, you shine so bright, and I would just dim your star. A girl who treat you like you treat them. Boy, I know there's plenty women who would love to have a man like you, but I'm in love with someone else, and I'm so sorry, baby, baby. No, 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 no. But what I did to you, baby, what I did to you, baby. Oh, yeah. I can't explain why it's him and not you. And at the end of the day, baby, I just don't want to. He ain't no doctor, and we always seem to fight. He got the perfect body, and sometimes he don't even treat me right. Oh, but when I'm with him, but when I'm with him, when I'm with him, ain't nobody else, baby. I am so sorry, baby, that I had to do this to you. And I can't keep pretending, no. No, I can't. No, I can't. No, I can't keep pretending, no. No, 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 no. I can't. I'm in love with another man. Yes, yes, yes. But can y'all stand the rain though? Can y'all stand the rain though? Can you stand the rain? Can you stand the rain? Can you stand the rain? I can stand all the rain. I'm very good. Hurricanes, tornadoes, all that. Professional.
All right, you guys. You guys, it's the Liberty Hall Open House. The Liberty Hall Open House, you guys. It's been a pleasure indeed. Yasmeena, yeah. Let me play you right now. That's what you need. There you go, baby. There you go. There you go. You worked it out. Where do you see yourself a few years from now with your career?
Here, I definitely see myself being able to work in a studio every day, not having to slave for the dollar. You know what I mean? And that's all I feel like I've been doing. You know what I mean? And I'm a part of the youth, and I want to be as successful as I can, as much as possible. But in a couple years, all I know is I'm not going to be slaving for the dollar.
Well, that's why I have my sunshades on, because you made my blue mascara drip, okay? So on this note, I want to tell you that's why we are here at the Liberty Hall opening. We are the station who caters to artists like yourself, the unseen, the unheard, the unknown. Also, YAL radio TV personality gonna slam dunk like Jordan Curry and bring you to the front line. So that's why you here, baby, to shine. Thank you so much indeed for being a guest here, of course, at our Liberty Hall open house indeed. Okay, God bless. All right, you're gonna get another dose. You'll get another dose. She just marinated you, okay? That's what she did. She just marinated you. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a wonderful, wonderful lady that I would like to bring on. And you guys, she's gonna give you great information, some great education about health insurance, okay? And I'm indeed to have a pleasure to bring to Marshawn Harris, you guys. And I'm very excited indeed for her to be able to. Some of you guys need some medical insurance. Some of you guys need help coordinating your medical insurance. Sometimes you can't afford it. You don't know the direction to take to get medical services. Well, this young lady is going to give you great information and education on how you can present that, right?
Absolutely. Well, hi, my name is Marshawn Harris, and I am a certified Cover California insurance agent. And what I want to speak to you about today is basically making sure that you actually go and get health insurance if you have not. We want to definitely make sure that you know that open enrollment for Cover California starts on October 15th and ends January 15th. But more importantly, if you are Medicare, if you're over 65 or been disabled for more than 24 months, open enrollment for Medicare is actually the same time. Well, actually, it starts on the same day, October 15th, and it ends on December 7th. So those are the times for you to actually take a look at your Medicare plans. We just want to make sure that if you cannot afford your coverage, you actually speak to someone. There is actually assistance available. There is assistance available even for prescription drugs. A lot of people don't know that you can go down to Social Security and see if you can get extra help. So you can get discounted drugs like for $1 for a generic prescription. That is available. And those are some of the things that you can get from a health insurance agent, and their services are usually free of charge. Most of the time, nobody is charging you for anything. So you should just ask the questions. And also the big thing is next year in 2020 in California, because our state is special, we will actually be required to actually have health insurance next year. So this year there's no fees or there's no fines, but next year you will be required to have health insurance. So definitely take a look.
My question to you is, how are you marinating the general public with this information?
So there's the big corporation, Cover California, actually going out and doing TV ads and different things of that nature. That's going on. Other than that, really, we're doing outreach. People like myself, we're actually going around. I will be at the Oakland Pride coming up next month. I was at Art and Soul, so I actually do go out into the community very often and with our booth and just actually speak to people who have questions and try to answer them.
And that's great because, education is the best medicine.
Correct.
So how can you receive education if they don't know the medicine, what to take?
That's true.
Yeah, so we have to get out there, knock at doors. Personally, me, I'm Bo. I will go, I'd rather hit a crowd, pull the car up and say, look, have you guys heard of this? Because, they don't know. And one thing, do you guys have any type of help or receiving pharmaceuticals?
So yes, so there is a help available. Well, one is the health plan in itself. If you have health insurance, you need to actually start speaking to them. Two, if you're a senior, there are actually state programs that are available. You may also contact the actual pharmaceutical company. They can give discounts as well as coupons and different things. There is also, you can always search on the internet for discount cards like goodrx.com. Sometimes people don't know that if you actually go to a particular pharmacy, the prescription might be, $40 there, but if you with a discount card, you might go back to that same pharmacy and it might be $5. So it's just really about asking questions. It is hard sometimes to find who to ask, but just Google it like everything else.
Well, my question for you again, I have a lot of questions.
No problem.
Okay, my thing is, do you have any type of exempt emergency services?
So we're health insurance agents, so we actually get you enrolled. in terms of emergency services, always you use the emergency room, or there's also clinics, urgent care clinics that are available.
Not if you got a toothache. Not if you got a toothache.
Now the dental is different. Dental is special. Dental is very special. I recommend but there are dental plans that are actually like $10 a month. Sometimes what it is just, again, asking questions. But the other option is always going to a dental school. And that, I mean,
about that.
yeah, if you think about it, yes, it's sometimes you could seem scary to be working with a student, but there is a teacher actually overseeing the student's work. That might be better than sometimes an independent dentist doing their own thing.
Right.
So you just have to ask and reach out. So the big thing for me is inquire. There's low cost dental and medical available,
Right.
like lifelong clinics throughout the Bay Area. They have an over 60 clinic. They have dental services. I mean, they have wonderful services, actually.
Okay, one last question.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you see this company going a few years from now for us getting the information out there for the general public?
Okay, so we have a couple of issues. We need to kind of vote if you want to have health insurance. So we, the bottom line is, in California, there is a push to continue to do advertisement for Cover California, for health insurance, and getting people covered. Other parts of the nation, there is actually some people trying to take away monies and funds to do so. So you have to figure out, one is really voting about your interest on that particular subject. But in terms of what we are doing, people like myself, I'm basically, my insurance agency is called Alpha Capital Insurance Services.
Okay.
And we're in San Leandro, Alpha 589 Estudillo in San Leandro. What we actually do is actually, like I said before, I do Alameda County really well. There's a lot of events that I go to locally, just like I'm here today, to just do outreach, and we offer our services and information for free.
Well, your information definitely has been outreach. Hey, it has been outreach. You in good hands with Allstate.
Yeah.
You can guarantee you that.
Thank you.
I just want to say kudos to you for your sacrifice. For your sacrifice, because you didn't have to be here to represent, okay? And like I said before, everybody is one step from being homeless and hungry, and in between that, they need medical.
Yes, they do.
They need medical to survive, and thank you so much for sacrificing yourself outside, of course, your personal life, to give back to the community.
No problem. This has been a really great event, and I really appreciate you guys having us and hosting us.
More than welcome, Angel. Thank you so much, and
You're
God
welcome.
bless.
God-bye.
You guys, it is the Liberty Hall open house, and it's going down. I'm very excited indeed, you guys. You guys go to, of course, www.OWHTVstudios.com. Lord knows, I hope I got it right, but if I didn't, there will be a rebroadcast, and down below, it will be in typesetting on the right the website to present you guys donation and stuff. And also, you guys, let me get over here to my post. Okay, well, this is called a live broadcast, you guys. What you see is what you get. That's why we coordinating this. Okay, yes. Oh, hello. Yes, welcome to the OWH, you guys. Of course, Liberty Hall open house. And I want to thank everybody for coming out. My goodness, we had a great, great information, educational presentation. My goodness, thank you. Happy birthday to Marcus Garvey. Happy birthday to you. I ain't going to try to sing, but happy birthday to you. Thank you to Bishop J.E. Walkins for this. If it wasn't for him, we would not be here today. And Yasmeena, I had to get my interview in, you guys. I want to say thank you so much. You have a beautiful voice. A beautiful voice. Are you going to sing us another song? Yay! You guys, ladies and gentlemen, this is YAL Radio, Yolanda Littles, radio and TV personality. And you guys, we are bringing to the front line to close our show, you guys, the beautiful Yasmeena, everyone. Thank you, guys. And don't forget to give a donation.
On a perfect day, I know that I can count on you. When that's not possible, tell me, can you weather a storm? 'Cause I need somebody who will stand by me through the good times and bad times. He will always there, always be right there. Sunny days, everybody loves them. Tell me, can you stand the rain? Oh, storms will come, this we know for sure. Can you stand the rain? Yeah. Love unconditional. I'm not asking just of you. And yet to make it last, I'll do whatever needs to be done. 'Cause I need somebody who will stand by me. When it's tough, he won't run. He will always be right there for me. Everybody knows them. Tell me, can you stand the rain? I know, nothing will be perfect, baby. Can you stand the rain? Oh, can you stand the rain? Can you stand? So this next song is called Take Me to the King by Tamila Mann. This is one of my favorite gospel songs that I've always liked to sing, and I really hope you guys enjoy my rendition of it. Take me to the King. I don't have much to bring. My heart is torn in pieces. It's my offering. Lay me at the throne. Leave me there alone to gaze upon your glory and sing to you this song. Take me to the King. Truth is I'm tired. Options are for you. I'm trying to pray, but where are you? I'm all churched out, hurting, abused. I can't face what's left to do. Truth is I'm weak, no strength to fight, no tears to cry. even if I try. But still my soul refuses to die. One touch will change my life. Take me to the King. I don't have much to bring. My heart is torn in pieces. It's my offering. Oh, lay me out. Take me to the King. Take me to the King. Take me to the So this last song, I'm gonna let speak for itself. I'm not gonna say a word. I'm just gonna let you guys feel it. Feel what I have to sing. I was born by the river in a little tent in the old, just like the river I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gon' come. Oh, yes it will. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die, 'cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gon' come. Oh, yes it will. I can go to the movies, and I can go downtown. Somebody keeps telling me don't hang around. It's been a a long time coming, but I know a chance gon' come. Oh, yes it will. I can go to the movies, and I can go downtown. Somebody keeps telling me don't hang around. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gon' come. Oh, yes it will. Then I go to my brother. baby. And I say, brother, baby, brother, can you please help me? No. But then he winds up knocking me back down on my knees and there are times that I thought I wouldn't last for long, but now I know I'm able to carry on. No, it's been a long time coming, but I know a chance gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. Thank you so much for having us here, for letting us be present in this space. This is a complete honor. I just want to recognize my two favorite people here, Jeremiah on the organ, and then Quinn on the drums. I really appreciate them too, because this dude came here last minute. He did not have to do this, and he did it for me. So give him some love, because he did his thing. This man right here is all successful. I had no idea, but this man, give him some love too, because he's on the talent train right here. So thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for allowing me in your space. This isn't only an honor, and I want to thank most of all Bishop for allowing me to perform here. William, Yolanda, you guys are amazing people. The entire OWH staff, ladies, I wish I knew your names, but I'm so sorry. I love all you guys, and it's such an amazing opportunity. I had so much fun. Coming here is always a great experience, so thank you so much. Thank you. Come here, I want some love.
Star, I'm very proud indeed of you. Matter of fact, hold on, because I need to do this for you right quick. Yeah, I need to fan you. There you go. Whoa, there you go. Oh yeah, and look at that, and look at that beautiful mane of yours. See, it's yours. Let it go. Oh my, you more than welcome, Angel. You guys, thank you so much for this beautiful showdown, you guys. And I want to say thank you to Faye Oliver. Okay, yes, indeed, the Liberty Hall OWH queen that holds it down. If it wasn't for her, you guys, we'd be looking like Tic Tacs around here. Okay, want to let you know. I want to say hello to Brenda. Where's Brenda at? I don't know where she at. I want to say she's our event coordinator. She help us dot our I's and cross our T's and make sure that our events going smoothly. Okay, I want to say thank you. Can you come here? Yay. I want everybody to see you. She should, well, put the Fendies on. Now put the Fendies on. Okay. No, here you go, take it off. Put the Fendies. Bam! Oh my goodness. I want to say, you look good. You got the Fendi on. I want to say you did a wonderful job. You did a wonderful job putting everything together. And my goodness, I want to know, where do you see the Liberty Hall building a few years from now?
Just great, absolutely great thing. First of all, it's going to have so much information for seniors especially. And then for recognition for the young people coming in with their talent. I am so proud of them. Awesome, 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 awesome. So we are here for the community. We are here. We're going to show things that your regular news stations don't even show. Not at all. So it's going to be wonderful. We're doing great things down here at OWH, Liberty Hill.
Explain to everybody the difference between OWH and Liberty Hall so they won't get it confused on what we offer here.
OWH is like the umbrella, and Liberty Hall is underneath. Liberty Hall has a lot of the history. OWH is recognized for being in the community right now. And even though Liberty Hall was the past, OWH is the history of, and Liberty Hall is still attached to it. So it's not one or the other, but they both are in unity and strong, equally yoked. So it's things that Liberty Hall is going to produce, that we're going to be bringing people in here doing things for their business and recognizing a lot of things. And OWH is still part of that. So, yes. And of course, Miss Faye, okay, part of the board.
Thank you for all your good work. We thank you and praise God for Brenda. This is my good buddy. I could not get away with this with everyone. Brenda and I have known each other for almost 50 years, maybe. Yeah, 50 years. Yeah, we've got kids and grandsons and all that. So that's why I had to come up and take the microphone out of her hand, because no, my sister. Let's get this straight. OWH Studios stands for Overcomers with Hope Incorporated. It's a nonprofit organization that teaches radio broadcast television to at-risk youth, veterans, and the modulated population, the marginalized population. What we're doing and what we're launching with this open house today is Liberty Studios, Liberty Hall Studios. We launched it on today because it's Marcus Garvey's birthday, as we heard from the good speaker from Marcus Garvey bookstore. But the difference between the OWH Studios, Inc., which is a nonprofit, and Liberty Hall Studios is that we will be marketing and opening Liberty Hall Studios to independent producers, directors, churches, other nonprofits and businesses that want to produce and push out their product. As you all know, Oakland does not have a public access station. So we're not saying that we're going to take the place of a public access station, but one day we certainly hope to spearhead that drive. But what we will offer is an opportunity within Liberty Hall Studios for you to come in with your projects, with our wonderful singer who just graced and just blessed my soul, Yasmeena. I mean, I didn't know whether to shout at 1 minute or run over or throw some money at you or what. I mean, so if you can imagine this young woman, let's use her as an example. I'm going to pick on her for a moment. Because as I was sitting there next to Pam, who represented the veterans, we said, oh my goodness, have you ever seen such grace and talent in a young woman so young? We've seen quite a few come through in our lifetime. And baby girl, I just want to tell you that your grace, your presence, your status, we're going to be proud to be your jumping off point, okay? So when you get that Grammy, I want to hear thank you to OWH Studios, okay? That's what I want to hear. And so, as we offer opportunities, excuse me over there. Oh, but of course, Miss Clean here. And so, not to make light of the situation, but the community, the churches, the businesses need a place where they can push out what it is they do, how to get their businesses going at a reasonable price. Now, I'm not going to stand here and insult anybody's intelligence and tell you it's going to be for free, because it's not. But it will not be at the exorbitant market rates that you will see if you went over to CBS and said, I want to cut a video and I want you to show it prime time. You are going to pay for that. That's going to cost you a bundle. We're not, as I said, we're not going to insult you and say this is going to be free, but we will work with you. Our studio manager, Will Hammond, our technicians, Dennis on camera, Deacon Jerry on camera too, and CB with sound and video. We will work with you and get the same service that, what's all that howling back there? Yeah, Zoram, and his friend Devin, who came with him. Let's give a shout out to, yeah, there's Devin, who came out with it. And they're from they're from the Gamehead organizations that we have connected with, and we've had an honor of working with Game Heads and that type of that organization. So we look forward to seeing you all, more of your classmates to come over and work with us as we begin classes in September of this year, the fall quarter. We're looking to do classes for our young adults and old adults, if you're interested in. Me, myself, I retired after 53 years as an IT project manager, and right now I'm kind of curious as to how do you write an app? What makes them work? I use them all the time, but I don't know how to do them. So that's curious to Brenda and myself. We'll get up and get in the class. But all that to say, the difference is OWH Incorporated is the umbrella, the 501c3 Incorporated that sits as an umbrella over Liberty Hall Studios. They have the final say, the final concern, and certainly pushing out information in a newsletter that I've been working with Miss Vanessa Nava, who's been helping us with our social media platforms. Working, Miss Vanessa. And so what we're looking to do for each of you who came in and signed up on today is making sure that you get updates on what's going on, classes available. What are you doing? Oh, okay. Classes available, and what it is that you may see that you may want to come in and be a part of. Our contact information is online at our website and our Facebook. So we look to hear back from you, feedback from you, and of course, doing business with you in the long run is what we're looking for. So I thank you kindly as we continue to serve the community, and I continue to serve OWH as their executive director. Thank you again for coming. We appreciate it.
Can you please let everybody know where they can send in their donations? Because I know there's going to be a rebroadcast.
Okay. Your donations. You may log on to our website at www.owhstudios.tv. That's www.owhstudios.tv. Click on the donate button, and from there you'll be guided to either enter your credit card number or you can submit a donation through PayPal. Your donations are what keeps us going, and we look forward to hearing from each and every one of you. That's once again, click the donate button at www.owhstudios.tv and click the donate button. So be generous and be kind, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.